Good morning, friends. So this video is about image-based question from anatomy. So I'm going to discuss today about the nasal cavity and its few important images. And this is a part one of this video, and I'll be coming up with more parts of this series. Alright, so today I'm going to discuss about the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. So if you can appreciate over here, the lateral wall of the nasal cavity and the associated bones can be seen. Okay, so let's start. The bony support for the lateral wall, so that one is provided by the starting with this one, if you can see and appreciate over here, the green colored uncinate process and the ethmoid labyrinth. So this is one of the important bony support for the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. And then if you can see over here, the blue colored, this is the perpendicular plate of the palatine bone. And then comes over here, that is adjacent to this perpendicular plate of palatine bone, if you can appreciate, this one is the medial pterygoid plate of the sphenoid bone. Then comes over here the inferior concha. So this one is the inferior concha. Then comes over here this small lacrimal bone. Its medial surface also provides support to the nasal cavity, okay, along with the frontal process of the maxilla. So these are the few of the bones that gonna support the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. So this might come as an MCQ, that is mark the following area. So we have discussed regarding it, and let's revise it once again. So this one is an uncinate process. This one is the perpendicular plate of palatine bone, medial pterygoid plate of sphenoid bone. Then comes the frontal process of the maxilla, this one being the lacrimal bone medial surface. Alright, so we are done with the lateral wall of the nasal cavity so far. So now coming on to another image from the Gray's anatomy. So in this we can also see the lateral wall of the nasal cavity and the various openings which can be seen over here. So almost all of the sinuses drain onto the lateral wall of the nasal cavity, and except for the sphenoidal sinus, this is an important point to be noted, that is the sphenoidal sinus does not drain onto the lateral wall of the nasal cavity, and it opens into the posterior roof of the nasal cavity. Okay, if you can see over here, so it is not onto the lateral wall, it is opening onto the posterior sloping roof of the nasal cavity. So let's see what all other openings that open into the nasal cavity. Over here we have is a superior meatus, inferior nasal meatus, and inferior nasal meatus and inferior concha. So in this thing we can see the opening of the nasolacrimal duct, which opens onto the lateral wall of the inferior nasal meatus under the anterior lip of the inferior concha. Alright, then we can see the infundibulum opening of the frontonasal duct that gonna drain the frontonasal sinus and the anterior ethmoidal sinus. Okay, so and over here if we can see, there is an opening of the maxillary sinus that is onto the floor of hiatus samilionaris, okay, just inferior to the frontonasal duct. And over here we can see the small openings of the middle ethmoidal cells onto the bulla ethmoidalis is there. and into the superior meatus, we can see the opening of the posterior ethmoidal cells. Okay, so these are the various openings of the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Very much important. An image based MCQ can come from this. So okay, so this is all for today, and I'll be coming up with more such videos, and this is a part 1 of this series, anatomy image based questions. And till next time, take care, bye bye, and best of luck.